Sheriff Dyer is joining us live now via Zoom with more on this case. Sheriff, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So when you first started receiving these reports, I just want to hear your reaction to this case.
So, the first part is trying to sort through all the information because we are often left in the dark. Immigration enforcement, they rarely contact Metro Dispatch, and there is so much fear in the community. We have to sift through the reports to figure out what actually happened. I was very concerned. We wanted to first verify that they did not go on school grounds, which we were able to verify that did not happen. But then upon looking into that, we discovered that there were incidents involving parents being detained, and they happened in the community near the bus stops. This is just really unfortunate and heartbreaking. Children are already on edge because of ICE activity, and I believe that they should not be doing any enforcement activity near bus stops or where children are being dropped off after school as well.
And as you look at this case too, the fact that the parent was taken into custody in front of the child as well is just really another layer to this story.
It does. Local residents and children deserve to feel safe going to and from school. And this climate is creating a situation where many immigrant families are afraid, and it is impacting their right to an education. It's not only just impacting immigrants, it's also impacting just families more broadly. And I hope in the future that we can all agree that certain areas should be off limits, and we should not be doing any enforcement activities, with children going to and from school in general, because while we are fighting to create better laws around sensitive locations, I think the bus stops adds another layer to this whole situation.
Absolutely. And you were talking about how ICE frequently doesn't provide advance notice to these, doesn't contact dispatch as well. I do want to ask you about the difficulty that causes your office and local police departments as well in terms of dealing with that.
A lot of difficulty. We get a number of concerns and we're unable to verify information. We have no clue of verifying sometimes if it was ICE or if it's, somebody that is pretending to be ICE. People get confused between law enforcement agencies. And so it has been, really hard to just make sense of the extent of what actually happened. And it puts us as local first responders in a bad spot as well, because we do not enforce immigration law. We are not ICE. And oftentimes people will get confused. And so, just knowing that they're coming into the county and they're doing enforcement operations and they are not giving any guidance as to what actually occurred is really concerning.
And I do want to ask you about that as well, and we'll get to that in a second. But just the fact that you say people could be pretending to be ICE, I think is a really big part of this story, because we hear reports ICE wearing masks, not wearing clothing or anything that identifies them as well. And they say that's about safety, but that can cause major public safety concerns as well.
Absolutely. And, the use of masking and hiding identities, all it does is incite more fear. We as law enforcement, we don't do that. And it's not that we have not had our share of conflict in communities, but, we have uniforms, we have our names, we have our face showing, and so the fact that they're walking around masked, we don't have ways to identify if they're even legitimate. And so the whole way that they're operating is extremely concerning to me.
So what's your message to the community, and then what's your message to the Trump administration and Department of Homeland Security with this situation?
I mean, one of the biggest messages is support sensitive location bans. Do not go to schools, hospitals, places of worships. Some people I've talked to in the federal government have said that they are, to the extent they can, honoring that. Make that a policy again. Why are we going to, create a situation where children are afraid to go to school? And the other thing I'll say is the masking. Any legitimate law enforcement agency should not be walking around in full covered face masks where the public cannot even verify who they are. So I think that there are some standards that should be in place. And, also it's heartbreaking how all of this is handled. I think that people need to listen to local first responders. I've had residents, regardless of immigration status, because of this climate, ask if they should be carrying around their birth certificates. This is not normal. This is not what our country should be representing. And I think all leadership needs to take a hard look at what's going on and make changes.
Absolutely. And what do you think, what do you want the big takeaway for the people that your office serves, as well as just the state of Michigan and people as a whole to be?
That in this time, coming together as a community is critical, supporting immigrant rights groups that are doing a lot of work. I know in Michigan, we have MERC, which is the Michigan Immigrant Legal Defense Council. They do a lot of work across the state. And also, staying involved, staying engaged, and making sure you're there for each other, because this is not an easy time, as a country, but I think communities at the local level are really feeling this as well.
Washtenaw County Sheriff Alyshia Dyer, thank you so much for joining us here on Fox 2 Detroit Live at 3. We really appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. Thank you.